give Bucknell a lot of credit. I thought they were terrific, and obviously not just their shot making, but I thought their whole game plan and the way they played was just it was fantastic, and give them a lot of credit, and give our guys a lot of credit for for pulling this one out and surviving. We've got long ways to go. We got a lot to learn. I have to do a better job of getting our guys closing out games. It's a little bit tricky when you're up with a 10-point lead, and the other team's kind of throwing in shots. But I have to do a better job of getting our guys finishing games better. Not just making free throws, but our offensive possessions. That's on me, and that's my responsibility. And I don't think I did a very good job of that up to this point. But give our guys a lot of credit for finishing this game out with the stop.
Keyshawn said that in the second half, the key was getting more ball pressure, and that was enabled you to disrupt some of their threes. How much did you stress on that, and where was that lacking in the first half?
It was lacking for the full 20 minutes. And it was a major point of emphasis in the second half or in the halftime. I just didn't think our effort was good enough, and our activity was good enough. And I think, and we said to them going in, hey, listen, if they don't feel us, it's going to be a long night. They got 5 guys in their starting lineup. They're going to shoot threes, and if they get on a roll and start making threes, it's going to be a long night for us. And I think they had 5 guys make threes in the starting lineup, with 2 of them. Really, their best shooter only made 1. I think overall that's just an area we have to get better in. But our ball pressure was much better.
When they were making that late run and pushing you guys, what were you seeing in timeouts and huddles? I mean, you guys it seemed like splitting free throws or turning the ball over for a while there. Did you sense frustration, panic, anything like that among the guys, or what were the conversations like at that point?
I think frustration, because we had a couple missed assignments on a couple flare actions, and again, the most glaring thing to me was I did not think our attention to detail was what it needs to be for a good team, and that's the coach's fault. That's the coach's fault. So we got to get better in that area.
Chris, how does Andre look?
I think he's fine. He took a really hard fall, and he hit the floor. Andre's a really tough kid. He is a tough kid. But when he fell and was wrestling for the ball, I was really disappointed with a couple plays earlier because he kept shoved on an offensive rebound, and I think he was a little bit frustrated. I think that happened and then 2 plays later he kind of forced one up in traffic and tried to make a play that probably wasn't there, and then he fell and hit the floor hard. I mean, he hit it hard, but he's a tough kid now. Andre Wesson's a tough kid, and he wanted to come back and play.
Dan said that the 3 teeth came out, so I mean, this might seem kind of obvious, but what message does that send to you, to the rest of the team, that he pops in a mouth guard, goes back out there?
Well, that's why I love Andre as a kid. That's why I love him. Man, I go to war with that dude. Go to battle with that dude any day, because he competes on the defensive end, and he's got a real toughness to him, and it's one of the things I really love about him. Both he and his brother are tough kids.
When you hear a guy loses 3 teeth, are you just like, okay, here we go, or do you do a double take and wonder, should I put him back in the game?
Well, I thought it was 1, and I didn't know it was 3. I thought it was 1 because I grabbed one of them on the floor when I was out there. I actually stepped on it, so I apologize for that. But I grabbed it and then gave it to Jeff. But really, at that point, I'm worried about his. Does he have a concussion? Kind of how's his neck? So you're really at that point, you go beyond the teeth, the cosmetic stuff that's going to happen. It's like, okay, does he have all his faculties, and is he feeling okay? And once we figured that out, then we could look for the teeth.
And you've probably touched on some of this already, but 3 games in a row now, you guys have given up a decent sized run. Minnesota not as much, but still a run. at the end of the first half and either lost the lead like you did tonight or saw it close up. Are you seeing anything consistent across these games other than you're playing good teams that are coached well, but you're giving up some leads here going into halftime?
Not really, because I think I don't remember specifically the Minnesota one.
Minnesota was 9-3.
Okay. To end of the half, first half. Yeah, maybe I got to look at my substitution patterns. Maybe we relax a little bit. Maybe I need to take a look at that. But teams are going to make runs, and that's not going to be the last team that's going to kind of. I mean, when you're down 10, I mean you're kind of playing pretty free and loose, and I think for us, the lesson for us in this is we got to play more aggressive in the last 3 minutes with the lead. We just got to be a little more aggressive.
I was going to follow up with that because I asked Caleb that, and he said he feels like when you're up like that, the mindset or the inclination might be to just get it to the half or just get it to the end of the game and not still play as if you're in a close game or losing and go in to get your shot. Have you seen some of that?
We probably need to change that. Certainly shouldn't be the mindset at the end of the half. I think it's more you're trying to protect something in the last 3 or 4 minutes with a 10-point lead as opposed to increasing it. Now, I love the play he made to go finish. But, when you're making one at one end and they're making three, the threes, coaches will tell you, I studied this a couple years ago, kind of the anatomy of an upset and the anatomy of losing a lead. And it's a lot of things. It's offensive rebounds, it's turnovers, it's threes. And if you can eliminate 2 of those 3 things, you're probably going to be okay. But we just had too many empty possessions. And again, that's my fault. We just have to teach that better and practice it better. And we do have a new group. I got on Luther a couple times out there because I thought he was too passive. That's the first time being in that situation, or one of the first few times.
What was your plan going into the Bucknell's final possession, and what was your take on the final possession?
Well, I thought that's the one possession that we had good attention to detail. And, we have a guy on our staff that studies end-of-game situations for the opposition. We review it. He and I review it before the game, both offensively and defensively. And I think they ran something similar to what we anticipated they would run, and our guys did a really good job kind of sniffing it out. I didn't know if they were going to go for a 3 or a 2 there, but the ball got bobbled, and we were able to close it out.
Chris, I think you've talked about it already this season, but like Bill said, they've gone on the last couple teams have gone on these runs, and it seems like each time Keyshawn's kind of been there to pick the whole team up. Can you just speak to what he's meant for this team in situations like that this year already?
He's a really poised kid. And he's one of those guys that can get his own shot. We probably need a few more of those kind of guys, or we need our younger guys to get better in that area, both in terms of getting their own shot and making the right decision late. So that's why it's important to have him in the game in those situations. But he just brings a maturity and a poise, and you need that.
Does that kind of play into why maybe he comes off the bench? It's just something that, he's in that second group and can just settle maybe some of the younger guys down that he's playing on the floor with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really, we've talked about, I asked him, hey, do you want to go in the starting lineup? It's not a big deal. I think he just right now he's in a good rhythm coming off the bench. I'm sure he'll start some this year as well. But he kind of likes watching and seeing James.
Was CJ cramping at the end, or was it his ankle?
It was cramps. So
is that
cramps from last year?
I was gonna say, is that concerning? I know how much that hobbled him last year. I know he's done some things to try to get that under control. Is that
We'll look at it, address it, and try to figure out what we can do to help him in those situations. Jeff Dietz will do a great job kind of being on top of that, but it was definitely cramps.
Chris, Keyshawn said that he knew that Bucknell was going to take a 3 at the end because he overheard conversations that they had. Is that what you mean when you said that your guys had sniffed out what they were going to do?
I didn't know that. It'd be nice if you pass that along to the coaches. At some point, I was not aware of that. But what I meant was they have an action that they run that's a really good action where they try to get a three. Yeah, and yeah, I figured, but he could have said, "Coach." But yeah, so we anticipated that, and I think I'll have to watch it. I think they ran similar to something that we had walked through. But Mike Nettie on our staff kind of helps us with end game situations, and yeah, like our guys were aware of taking away the three in that situation. It's an interesting thing as coaches, you know, as dangerous as they were from 3-point line. I totally get why they went for a three on the road. You know, and if I'm him, I'm probably doing the same thing, but a two is a good option too. So.
And when we talked yesterday, you said that leadership on this team was something that you still were waiting to cast a verdict on. Didn't really come out with much rust today. When they made a run, you ultimately stopped it. Is this a really good step in that direction in your mind, or just
I think it's a step. I think it's a step, Lori. I don't think we're there yet. I think it's a step. I think I sounded like I was prophetic yesterday, but I did think that we're going to play in a lot of close games, and this year, and I thought this could be one, and I think that's when we'll see leadership at its best, and I think it'll come from a variety of guys. But you're right, we closed out the game. We made enough plays. We'll learn from it. Again, I have to do a better job of making sure our guys. We can finish games better, but teams make runs on you. Good teams do, and hopefully we'll be better prepared next time. Okay, thanks. I think so. I haven't. Yeah.
Clean break of the tooth? Like, did it just pop out or did it break?
You know, he's at the dentist right now. I don't know for sure. The tooth that I picked up was pretty much fully a tooth, but I don't know. So no, I'm a bit of a germaphobe, so that shows how much affection I have for Andre.